Alright guys, MTech Guy here, and today we're taking another look at the budget BMW E46 330i, and we're removing the rear spoiler off the boot lid today. Okay, so you're probably thinking to yourselves, alright MTech Guy, why are you taking the spoiler off the boot lid? It looks quite cool, it looks quite nice. Well, I'm doing that for two reasons today. Now, although this is an M Sport model, it's an MTech 1, and that differs from the later MTech 2 models. It's got different bumpers, different side skirts, the steering wheel's different, and when these left the factory, the MTech 1 spec didn't actually have a boot spoiler, unlike the MTech 2 models which came later on. So at some point in this car's life, someone's had a boot spoiler painted and stuck it on there, and to be honest, I do like it. It does finish the car off nicely, it does look nice, but also, as you know, I do like to keep my cars pretty much as they left the factory. Now the second reason is, when it's been painted, I'm not sure if they made that good of a job of it, because the lacquer's starting to bubble and peel. It looks like the New Zealand sun's really got to it, and it's such a shame because the rest of the paintwork on the car's in such nice condition. This car's really been well looked after by the previous owners. I'm pretty sure it's lived in a garage all its life. So the state of this spoiler, the state of all the lacquer, it's really letting the car down, and every time I wash the car and my sponge goes across it, it's pulling more of the lacquer off in flakes, and it's getting stuck in the sponge, and that's not going to be good for the rest of the paintwork. So we're going to get this spoiler removed today. I'll see what the car looks like, and then I've always got the option later on in the future, if I want to get the spoiler repainted, I can always stick it back on there, but at this stage it's really letting the car down, so it's got to be gone today. Now, although the factory ones were stuck on with some double-sided, sort of very thin foam tape, I have no idea how this one has been stuck on by the previous owner. They could have used some of the proper tape. They might have used some RTV, some silicone. They could have used some other type of sticky pads. Hopefully they haven't used any adhesive that was too aggressive, a bit like what I found when I removed that M badge off the boot lid quite some time ago. It was almost like super glue, and it would set like concrete. It was quite difficult to remove without causing any damage to the paint, so hoping not to come across that today. But let's take a look at the bits and pieces I've got to do the job. Alright, so we'll be starting off with some dental floss here, so we'll use that to cut away at the underside of the spoiler to whatever's holding it on to the boot lid. Hopefully it will cut through it alright, and then once the spoiler's off, we may have to remove whatever type of adhesive is still left there, any type of residue. So I've got a plastic razor blade here, so in most cases this shouldn't damage the paintwork if you go careful. And then I've got some paint prep stuff here, so it's not really a good idea to use spirits and whatnot on your paintwork because it can mar the lacquer. So this is a bit gentler, but it is good stuff for getting rid of any adhesive. And then we'll go over it with some quick detailer there just to get rid of any dirt or bits and pieces, and then we may need to follow it up with some cutting compound and some polish, but we'll see what it looks like under there. Alright, let's get into the job. So we'll basically use the dental floss to hacksaw through whatever's holding this on underneath. It seems to be going through alright. I'll just pull it up gently as we go to release it. Right, so there we are, the spoiler's now removed, and it looks like it's been held on with some type of silicone, some RTV, something like that. So we're left with quite a lot of dirt here, but hopefully this isn't too much residue on here. So I'll go across, I'll give this a good clean up and just see if it is dirt. We might have got lucky and the adhesive side of things is still stuck to the spoiler and not so much the car, so hopefully it hasn't etched into the paint with the solvents too much. But I'll go across, I'll give this a good clean up, and then we'll see what we're left with. Right, I think what I'll do is give it a spray with the quick detailer, and then we'll let it soak a bit before we try and wipe it off. I just don't want to end up with like a grinding paste, you know. Right, that's had a couple of minutes just to soak in there, so we'll just give it another quick blast, get it nicely lubed, and then we'll go across and see if we can wipe away all that dirt. So with a bit of luck, as you can see, the quick detailer's pretty much taken all that adhesive material off, but just left behind with these marks here. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. It's kind of etched the paint of the outline of the spoiler there, whether it's been moving around and chafing a wee bit in the wind as I've been driving, or maybe the boot lid's been painted at some point and they didn't remove the spoiler. I don't know, but I'll go at it with the cutting paste and then follow up with the polish, see if we can get it to disappear. I'm not sure, it might be too deep. We might have to look at wet sanding it at some point, but yeah, not sure. Now unfortunately, my battery operated polisher is all packed away at the minute, so I'm just gonna have to go at this and try and buff it out by hand. We'll see how we go. All right, I've had a good go at polishing it by hand, but as you can see, if we get closer, you can see there's still some marks on there that are almost etched into the surface of the paintwork, so I think I'm gonna need a bit of mechanical assistance with that one, so I think I'll dig out my polisher and I'll go to it with some cutting compound and some polish and see if we can just finish that last bit off with the polisher. Right, now I've got to go find this thing. See you in about 6 hours. Right, found it. So I'll go over with this. I've got quite a firm pad to start off with, just to try and cut that back to a nice flat surface. Start off with that, with the cutting compound. Right, so that's got rid of all the etch marks, so I think what I'll do next is put a softer pad on and go across with the polish. Alright guys, so that's that little job sorted, and it didn't come up too bad. The car was actually covered in polished spatter, so I've just given it a quick wash and yeah, it's not looking too bad. And that cut and polish got rid of all them etch marks. So there we go, that's the E46 330i M-Tech 1, now spoilerless as it left the factory, and I quite like it. I reckon it looks alright, and it's certainly an improvement on that tatty old spoiler that was on there with all the lacquer flaking. So we've improved the look of the vehicle for pretty much no money, just the price of a little bit of polish, in keeping with running this car on a budget. But anyway guys, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, whether you prefer it with the spoiler or without. Please let me know in the comments below. And if you found the video interesting or useful, don't forget to give it a like, and make sure you go and check out the rest of my YouTube channel for more budget BMW DIY videos. Consider subscribing if that's your cup of tea. I'm M-Tech Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.